Breaking news from around your world on this Wednesday, May 8th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani announced Wednesday that his country would stop complying with parts of the landmark 2015 nuclear accord that exchanged sanctions relief for the curbing of Tehran's nuclear program. Rouhani said in a televised speech that Iran would keep stockpiles of excess uranium and heavy water from nuclear reactors and resume higher uranium enrichment unless the international community agrees to new terms within 60 days. He said, "We are ready to negotiate." The move comes a year after President Donald Trump withdrew the U.S. from the deal. It was expected to further intensify tensions with the U.S., which has imposed sanctions on buyers of Iranian oil and moved an aircraft carrier to the Middle East following signs Iran is planning an attack on U.S. interests. As a result of Tehran's decision, a senior White House official said Wednesday the U.S. is planning to impose further sanctions on Iran very soon. Colorado police on Wednesday are trying to determine why two students walked into their school with two handguns and opened fire, killing one person and wounding 8 just a few miles from the site of one of the nation's deadliest school massacres. Douglas County Sheriff Tony Spurlock told reporters that one of the suspected shooters at the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math School in Highlands Ranch, previously identified as male, was a 16-year-old female. The other suspect was an 18-year-old male. Police sources told a Denver TV reporter that the female suspect wanted to transition to male from female and had been bullied for it. The student killed in the attack was an 18-year-old male who had been due to graduate in 3 days. At least 4 of the injured were treated and released late Tuesday from hospitals near the school. Some of the others remain in critical condition. The shooting occurred nearly 3 weeks after the 20th anniversary of the mass shooting at Columbine High School in neighboring Littleton. Hackers managed to steal more than $40 million worth of Bitcoin from the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange. Officials said the Binance exchange said it discovered the breach Tuesday and learned hackers stole 7,000 Bitcoins in a single transaction. The company said it will cover the incident in full, so no users' funds will be affected. As of early Wednesday, 7,000 Bitcoins carried a value of about $41 million. Binance said the multi-pronged attack used phishing, viruses, and other methods to breach the accounts. Sensitive user data was also mined. Binance said the withdrawal set off multiple alarms in the system. Binance is planning a security review of systems and data and said it will give updates throughout the process. Trading will not be suspended, but Binance cautioned that the hackers could still control certain user accounts and may use those to influence prices. Founded in 2017, Binance is a global platform that hosts trading for more than 100 cryptocurrencies. It's the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange by trading volume. The World Health Organization said more than 34,000 people in Europe were infected with measles during the first 2 months of this year, and the outbreak will persist if authorities don't implement measures to vaccinate vulnerable populations. The WHO said that figure represents a 3-fold increase from the 11,400 cases reported during the same time last year. In January and February 2019, measles were reported in 42 European countries, with the majority, some 25,000 cases, documented in Ukraine. Among the infected this year, 13 people were reported to have died from the disease in Albania, Romania, and Ukraine. The WHO call for action comes as the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said more than 764 cases of measles had been reported in the U.S. in 2019, with outbreaks in New York, Michigan, New Jersey, California, Georgia, and Maryland. The nearly 800 cases is the highest number experienced in the U.S. since the disease was declared eliminated from the United States in 2000. The White House invoked executive privilege Wednesday, claiming the right to block lawmakers from the full report from special counsel Robert Mueller on his Trump-Russia probe and escalating the battle between President Trump and Congress. The administration's decision was announced just as the House Judiciary Committee was gaveling in to consider holding Attorney General William Barr in contempt of Congress over failure to release the full report. Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler of New York said the action by Trump's Justice Department was a clear new sign of the president's blanket defiance of Congress's constitutional rights. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said the action was rather a response to the blatant abuse of power by Democratic Representative Nadler. In a letter Wednesday to Trump, Barr explained that the special counsel's files contain millions of pages of classified and unclassified information. He said it was the committee's abrupt resort to a contempt vote that has not allowed sufficient time for you to consider fully whether to make a conclusive assertion of executive privilege. President Trump defended himself on Wednesday following a media report that said his businesses had lost more than $1 billion from 1985 to 1994, saying he had leeway with his taxes as a real estate developer. The report, published in the New York Times, detailed how Trump's core businesses of casinos, hotels, and apartment buildings had lost $1.17 billion over a decade, allowing him to avoid paying income taxes for 8 of those 10 years. Trump said he was allowed massive tax write-offs for depreciation and many non-monetary losses, adding the report contained very old information. Democrats in the House of Representatives have requested Trump's tax returns as part of investigations into the president and possible conflicts of interest. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin this week refused a request for those documents, setting up a likely legal fight. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Wednesday tweeted that the report underscored the need for lawmakers to review Trump's taxes as allowed by law. China's exports fell unexpectedly in April, adding to pressure on Beijing ahead of negotiations on ending a tariff war with Washington over Chinese technology ambitions. Customs data show April exports sank 2.7% from a year ago to $193.5 billion, a reverse from March's 14.2% growth. That was well below private sector forecasts of growth in low single digits. Wednesday's announcement of trade data came after President Trump sent global financial markets plunging with a surprise threat of more penalties on Chinese imports. Imports of American goods fell 26% from a year earlier to $10.3 billion. Exports to the United States, China's biggest foreign market, were down 13% at $31.4 billion. Talks in Washington are due to go ahead Thursday, despite earlier fears Beijing might pull out due to Trump's threat. China said Tuesday its economy czar will participate as scheduled. Economists say even if a settlement is reached, China's exports this year will be lackluster due to weak global demand, putting pressure on manufacturers that support millions of jobs. Drivers for ride-hailing giants Uber and Lyft turned off their apps to protest what they say are declining wages at a time when both companies are raking in billions of dollars from investors. Demonstrations took place in 10 U.S. cities Wednesday, including Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, and Washington, as well as some European locations like London. The protests arrived just ahead of Uber's initial public stock offering Friday. Uber's hoping to raise $9 billion and is expected to be valued at up to $91.5 billion. It's not the first time drivers for ride-hailing apps have staged protests. Strikes were planned in several cities ahead of Lyft's IPO last month, although the disruption to riders appeared to be minimal. More cities are participating in Wednesday's protest. In a prepared statement Wednesday, Uber said it's constantly working to improve the working environment for drivers. Lyft said its drivers' hourly earnings have increased over the last 2 years, that 75% of its drivers work less than 10 hours per week to supplement existing jobs, and that on average, the company's drivers earn more than $20 an hour. Those ever-present U.S. commercials for prescription drugs will soon have to carry prices, responding to a public outcry for government action to restrain medication costs. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar said the Trump administration has finalized regulations that will require drug companies to disclose list prices of medications costing more than $35 for a month's supply. Upping the pressure on the industry, Azar also said the administration is willing to consider allowing Americans to import lower-priced prescription drugs from abroad if it can be shown to be safe and actually deliver savings to patients. The pricing details are expected to appear in text toward the end of commercials when potential side effects are being disclosed. TV viewers should notice the change later this year, perhaps as early as summer. According to the latest government figures, the 10 most commonly advertised drugs have prices ranging from $488 to $16,938 per month, or for a usual course of therapy. The drug industry opposes the price reveal, saying companies would rather provide the information on their websites. Denver voters appear to have rejected a citizen initiative seeking to make that city the first in the U.S. to decriminalize magic mushrooms containing the hallucinogen psilocybin. Unofficial returns with all precincts reporting late Tuesday showed no votes, with a substantial lead over yes votes. Advocates of the initiative, which took an approach used by Denver marijuana advocates to decriminalize pot possession in 2005, argued that the mushrooms have been proven safe and useful as an alternative treatment for opiate addiction and mental health issues. Denver District Attorney Beth McCann opposed the proposal, saying only 11 of the more than 9,000 drug cases considered for prosecution between 2016 and 2018 involved those magic mushrooms. And that's your update for this Wednesday, May 8th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.